What's the word, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at 5 of my personal favorite ways to look at splice loops. The reason why I think that this is important is because everybody's using splice. Doesn't matter if it's for drum loops, for melodics, presets, whatever it is. It's undeniable that splice is a factor for musicians today creating music. One of the things that I notice is that there's a lot of people that give Splice a lot of hate because of how easy it makes production. I have my own thoughts about it, but for me, that's not what this video is about. I want to give you 5 actual ways that you can use Splice and make your sound different than other people. Let's take a look. So before we first jump into the actual tips, I want to talk about the way that I know 90+% of you all are currently using Splice. What you're doing is, here we have the home page. You'll see what's recommended for you. So I see trap soul vibes. You're going to just click the first thing. Ooh, trap. Ooh, I'm going to click trap. Splice defaults here to most popular. If you all can see where my mouse clicker is, Splice defaults here. This is how most people use Splice. They just click. And they audition the sounds in order. That's how most people use Splice. That's why a lot of these beats sound the same, right? How I recommend you do it. Let's jump back into sounds. You see I'm back on the home page. I personally try to stay away. So if I'm making trap, I don't look in the trap folder, right? I'm going to go to genres, and I'm just giving you one example. Understand what all the elements of trap are. And a way that you can do that is if you go to trap, let's figure out where it is. Here it is. Do you see where there's a description here about what trap is? Use that to your advantage. It's telling you what's involved in that sound. Crisp, grimy snares, deep 808 kicks, subdivided hi-hats, dark cinematic strings, and brass. Now we have something to work with. I want to zoom in on the cinematic strings and brass. So let's go back. We're going to go to instruments. We're going to scroll down to where we see brass and woodwind. Now you can obviously kind of dial it into a specific type of instrument. But what I recommend is go to view all. Once you're in view all, we see that we're still on most popular. Now we're into the first tip. So number 1, change this from most popular to random. That's my personal method, regardless of the sound that I'm looking for. This is my number 1 method. We start off with the top method for me. Random. The reason why random is because if you went to this same section and you clicked on the random, your set of sounds that you're going to see is going to be different than mine, right? To show you, this was the first sound. That was hard. You can hear that in a trap beat, can you not? Let's do it again. So if I go back to random, say I just go back to this most recent or whatever, go back to popular, and say I go right back to random. There's a completely separate sounds. There's a completely different list of sounds. This is how I maneuver through Splice. And it keeps, if I'm going to use a loop for something or a starting point for an idea, this is how I do it, right? Similar sound, different melody, right? Hard. So tip number 2, in the genre section, choose your sounds by genre. Now again, we have the I would call the primary section of the genre here. So we see hip hop and R&B and everything that Splice considers as hip hop and R&B. We have hip hop all the way down to glitch hop. Same for every other sound. Again, we just looked at a trap example. Let's take a look at something maybe a little bit different. So let's look at soul. What are the elements of a soulful beat, right? So we see African American gospel music, R&B, jazz, right? It became popular during the civil rights movement, such as Motown and Atlantic gained influence. That is a key starting point. I would honestly, if you want to, you can search the internet for Motown, right? And at this point, you can start to look and figure out like what type of music, what type of instruments were these musicians using. And again, now you're starting to do some deep diving research. This is before you even pick a sample, right? A lot of times you have a sound that you want to achieve, and the reason why you're not able to get to it is because you don't have the knowledge to help get you there. What I'm trying to show you is how to use Splice and the keywords that are already in front of you to do the research that you need to do to get you to where you want to go. Let's go back to Splice. So again, we see Motown Atlantic influences. All right. All sounds good. It's pretty straightforward. Hand claps, body movements. It's a lot of bounce to it. Take that same section here. So instead of going from most popular, I'm going to go to random, like I do all the time. What I've usually noticed that when I go to random, I don't usually see any of those top packs here. I don't like to use the top packs, right? I don't like to use the top packs. All this stuff here, there's some very, very good sounds here. And I think there's a couple of exceptions. Like, I think the Oliver Power Tools sample pack, as far as just the instrumentation and percussion goes, this stuff is wonderful. Like, that stuff is wonderful. As far as this KSHMR, any of their stuff, amazing. High quality cinematic sounds. Really high quality drums. And that brings me to the third reason, or my third tip for Splice. Don't touch the top packs. If you're afraid, if you've heard a sample that you've used in your own beat in somebody else's song, that's the indicator there. If you heard a song on the radio that used a loop that you have also used, that's an indicator right there that these people are this is how everybody else is using Splice. So you have to do something a little bit different. Your approach has to be different when you're choosing your sounds. Otherwise, you're going to sound like everybody else. My fourth tip, take advantage of these presets. Take advantage of the presets. Here, you'll see the name of the plugin. Silent One, Massive by Native Instruments. There's Serum, Spire. If you have any of these plugins, I highly recommend you go through and you search through some of the presets. Let's take a look at Silent One of my personal favorites. So one of you all. Here, I'm not as concerned about changing anything over here, right? I'm not concerned about the filter because we're talking about a preset. So I'm actually gonna download that. Some dope sounds. All right. Again, you can narrow that stuff down by clicking through the filter section here. Kind of figure out what you want to do. Again, these are going to be presets that you can upload in your VST. And you can create your own pattern, your own melody. I love it. And my final tip, stay away from this MIDI section. Stay away from it. Unless you're going to use it as inspiration. Don't go in here copying people's MIDI files. That's almost as bad as like a Unison Audio type of thing where you're literally using the same sounds, the same pattern as somebody else. You want the quickest way to get you in trouble or have one of you get a copyright strike? Having the same exact melodic flow as another producer or composer. This is literally, I don't know why they've done it. And I'll never use a MIDI pack. It's the same. It don't matter if it's with a cymatics type of thing or whoever. Stay away from MIDI packs unless you're going to use it specifically for educational purposes and say, oh, this is how you compose a specific structure. Stay away from them. I got a bonus tip. See, I thought I was gonna leave y'all high and dry. No, I got one more tip for y'all. Use a different genre. Look for sounds in a genre that nobody else that in your producer circle or composer circle is doing. If you a trap, I'm gonna go to trap because so many of you all love trap. So many of you all love trap. And again, we saw earlier what the elements of trap is. Do something different. Add a different vibe to your trap tracks, right? They can be, let me find a good example. Let's do Caribbean. Let's do Caribbean. Again, we're gonna go to random. Here, let's find something a little bit more specific. Let's do, because I try to stay away from melodic stuff. Let's look at some shakers. I would even say change the BPM. So trap usually 140 to 160. Let's be a little bit more specific. Add a whole different flair to your trap sounds. Let's look at something else. Let's look at something different. So instead of Caribbean, let's go into pop. There's a lot of cross references there. One of my favorite random. If you want to look up a melodic loop, choose an instrument. So now that popped up, that just kind of reminded me. You see, these are wet. I personally try to find those that are dry. Personally, just because I like to add my own effects, so you might stay away from those. So here's dry. At that dry tag here. That's a really good one. These dry sounds allow you to add your own effects over the top of these sounds, rearrange them in your own different way. Now you can have a completely different sounding instrument. A guitar is a guitar is a guitar, right? So you'll never get in trouble at all from using the instrument itself. You get in trouble for the melody, not the instrument. Keep that in mind. All right, my musicians, hopefully that list helped you, and hopefully it was informative. If it was, please don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this that where I actually dig in and show you maybe personal tactics and techniques that I use when I'm looking and making music, and a lot of other things. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.